Welcome to the Wolf Mother podcast, a podcast bridging the human and the being, speaking on spirituality, but rather than trying to escape this reality, we will be grounding and rooting down into everything that is the entirety of this human experience on Earth. I am Dan Arhakos, space holder and healing facilitator. We will always begin by taking 3 deep breaths together. So we'll take that first deep breath in through the nose and letting it softly out of the mouth. Deep breath in again through the nose. Softly again out of the mouth. Last time, deep breath in again through the nose, and you're going to hold it at the top. And you're going to relax your shoulders, you're going to relax your jaw, you're going to relax the space in between your eyebrow. When we let it go, you can let out a nice sigh. We're going to hold on for 3, 2, 1. Thank you for being here, and I hope you enjoy this episode. Today's episode, we will be diving into the topic, is coaching / business coaching one big MLM? If you came here because you saw the short, the reel, or the TikTok, basically I wrote down a bunch of notes, and I am going to do my best to look at these notes and expand a bit more on what I said, because it was only a 3-minute video and so many of you responded so beautifully to it, saying like, yes, I completely agree with every point that you've made. I'd love to hear more. A lot of you messaged me to actually have conversations and talk about it. So the premise was that I kind of began by starting off with saying that spiritual teachers and healers kind of have merged into this like business coaching thing, right? But also that people that were just business coaches before have also kind of merged into this spirituality and self-help lane. So they've kind of like met themselves in the middle, and they use a lot of these buzzwords that kind of, they really trap vulnerable people in. And that was something that I definitely hit on, was the fact that this is marketing to the vulnerable. I also run in the plant medicine community, and that's a big problem that I have with the plant medicine community, is that you're selling something to vulnerable people. If they're usually coming to sit with plant medicine, there's something that they are vulnerable about that they're wanting to work through. But in a similar sense, so are the people that are just coming to me for energy healing. They're vulnerable. Also, people that are trying to start their own business or have their own business, if they're going to a business coach, they're vulnerable in the sense that they're looking to learn more so that they can invest certain aspects of this business coach and these teachings into their business. So using words like abundance, financial freedom, and just like all the other buzzwords. Like if you've been following me for a while, then you know me. I made a whole post about like, what the fuck do any of these fucking words mean anymore? People just literally go into the thesaurus and they just like pick a word out and they're like, I'm a this coach now. And I think in some scenarios it makes sense, but in other ways people just want to stand out, when in reality, like, what the fuck do you actually mean? What do you do? The reason why I say space holder and facilitator is because I don't consider myself a coach. Like, to me, a coach and what I do is very different, although some people see it in the same. And you can call, like, my clients of mine, they can call it whatever they want to call it, right? It's their own word to place on it. But for myself, I do not like the word healer. I think the word healer it's a box. I think all words are a box that we end up putting ourselves in. But the term healer just implies that like I'm the one that's like healing you. Like our good friend Jesus, he was trying to say like the kingdom is within you. Like it's all within you. Everybody's got the healing hands, and everyone was like, oh my God, it's this one guy. He has all our answers. Our poor friend Jesus. Taking that example, just because I am guiding you through this healing process does not mean that I am the one that healed you. just because I am the one guiding you through this healing process does not mean that I am the one that healed you. You are evidently doing that. So I don't like the word healer because it makes people feel like I'm up on a pedestal and then they're not. No, I want to empower you so that you can see me in the same light that you see me in already. I want you to see yourself in that own light. Anyway, I digress from that kind of area that I'm going down. If you know me, this is very hard for me to kind of like stay on topic, but I really want to hit on all of these points that I made in the video. So coaches are kind of doing this thing where they're like waving this ticket in front of you. They're showing you like the most beautiful parts of their lives. And I even do that. Some of the things that I experienced in my life, I don't share. I share as much as I possibly can on social media. And if you've been following me for a while, you know some very personal things about me. I'm not saying that everybody has to share their most vulnerable and personal parts of themselves. However, what I am saying is that coaches are curating what's on their social media. I am also at fault for this. Like, you're curating what you want people to see on your social media. So when they're selling you something and you're seeing the most fantastic parts of their life and they're like, look at me, I have the freedom to like do this and do that, and I am abundant in this and blah, 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 blah. You kind of have this thing, like it makes you feel like, well, I want what they have. If they continue to showcase it over and over and over again, you are marketing to the vulnerable once again. Because think about it. If you're sitting in your home right now and then you see this beautiful video that is like just so aesthetically pleasing, you're like, well, I want that life too. Who the fuck does not? Who the fuck does not? In the last like 2 to 3 years, right? We've really seen this, like over the last 30 years, the spirituality and self-help area has been like majorly on the rise. But in the last 2 to 3 years, we have really seen this trend where people work with a coach and then they're a coach, right? They did a coaching program and then now, boom, they're a coach and they're trying to sell you something. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Where did the sacred space of like integration get confused? If you are going to a teacher training, yes, there is an idea that once you finish this teacher training, you will be teaching thereafter. What I will say about all of the teacher trainings that I have done is that they actually taught me how to hold space. I find it very hard to believe that there are all of these coaching programs that are teaching you about abundance and manifestation and freedom and the divine feminine, because apparently they all go hand in hand, has taught you how to properly and ethically hold space. And I stand by that motherfucking statement. Because I've taken coaching programs that have not taught me how to hold any space. I've taken one like regular coaching program. It was supposed to be about like liberation. And then I've taken 2 business coaching programs. One coaching program that I did was horrendous. Like one of those business coaches was horrendous. The other business coach was phenomenal, and it really like repaired my faith in people that are business coaches. So I'm very grateful for that experience. So I haven't done many coaching programs, but I've spent a lot of money in the last like 3 or 4 years that I have done programs like that. I've spent a lot of fucking money, and I feel like I've kind of really begun to learn a lot of those things were not ethical. They were like not rooted in integrity. They were rooted in the fact that they had a price that they really wanted you to pay, and they gaslit you into feeling like, well, if I want to feel liberation, or I want to feel abundance, or I want to feel freedom, I got to pay these fucking prices. Now, granted, in the end, I did pay those prices. That was the decision that I made. In some of those situations, I definitely felt coerced into it, and that sucks. In other situations, I didn't feel coerced into it, and I am grateful that I spent that money. Others, not so much. Anyway, but that whole part of like, they don't like where is the part where you learned how to actually hold space for people? Because even if, like the last business coach that I worked with, she had a background in holding space in some capacity because of what she was teaching before she was a business coach. But even though she was a business coach, she was holding a lot of space. Now, you give that to somebody who has no idea how to hold space, that could be extremely detrimental to every single person that sits with that coach now. That's a fucking problem. And if you know anything about this industry, there's not really any rules or regulations. And in some ways that's beautiful because it allows people to really express themselves. And this is the reason why I have my own business and I've never worked in like a yoga studio, although I'm gonna try to do that this year. There's one studio that I'm really excited that I'm connecting with. That's a completely different story, but they're down the shore. In New Jersey. So really excited about that. But anyway, I digress. What I was trying to say with that is I've never worked in a studio before because most of the time studios don't give you the full creative freedom. So it is great to not have those rules and regulations because you can have that full creative freedom and do it however the fuck you want. But with that being said, a lot of these places are going into people's traumas and you could be doing more harm than good. Right. So now I want to move into one of the things that I said that I think is extremely important to hit on is why are we over promising things? Why are these coaches or business coaches or whatever the fuck they are creating these sales pages that are like connect with your dark night of the soul and connect with your abundance and unlock your inner god and goddess and like, you know, create your own business. Like they're just giving like too many things that like, yo, literally what? Literally what? So what I think I said in that video was think about having two people. When somebody comes to me, if you unlock your inner abundance and abundance just begins to flow from within you, fucking dope. But most likely what I'm going to focus on with you in the area of expertise that I have is going to be your inner child traumas, is going to be your lack of energetic boundaries, is going to be emotional, mental, spiritual blockages within your life. But now if you have somebody who does the same kind of things that I do, ooh, maybe I should have silenced that. Okay. Learning my lesson. But now if you've got somebody who's sitting next to me who's like, I do all of those things and I'm going to unlock your inner abundance and you're just going to live and be financially free and you're going to travel the world and yada yada. Obviously people are picking that person, right? I was having a conversation with two really good friends about this the other day because that's what we were talking about, is that if you're not promising something about money or abundance, people aren't as excited to do this work with you. This work is not necessarily marketable. Most of my clients, and that's another thing, like kind of telling people like, oh, like what your clients say, like use that as testimonials or post it on social media. I can't really fully jive with that. Most of the time what my clients are going through is they're having a very large emotional release in what we're doing. I'm not saying that that's the case for everybody because it's not, right? Your work, some people's work is different from mine, but when my clients are having these emotional releases, the last thing I'm thinking is, ooh, let me get this on camera. Ooh, can you send me a voice memo of how that made you feel when we get off Zoom? Like, no. And some of these coaching programs, that is what they're kind of telling you to do, is like use that as more content. And it feels, you know, like exploiting people. I do have clients that are very comfortable outing themselves to say this person is working with me. Like, or rather to say, I'm working with Dan. They're like, they can post about it on their own. And if they do and they tag me, that's great. I'll use it. But I'm always going to ask them beforehand, like, is it okay for me to post this? And is this really something that you want people that follow me to see? That's important too. Like, it's not just like, is it okay for me to post this? But it goes into the furtherment of like, this could be a marketing tool. Are you okay with that? Some people are super cool with that. Some people, when you explain it to them that way, they're like, oh, fuck, no, never mind. I'm totally not okay with that. That should be a conversation. That's just a consent conversation. And that's just like an ethical conversation. So this like over promising of things that like also leads into what I'm saying about like exploiting those that we work with is just very interesting. And I'm not saying that you can't figure it out in an ethical way. I do my best each and every day to figure it out in an ethical way, but I don't think a lot of other, I shouldn't say a lot of other, but I definitely know that there are people that don't do it that way. So you probably also heard me say, I'm abundant in love, but I would not say that my bank account reflects a highly successful financial business. I feel successful, but that's what feels successful for me. So now I want to talk about how detrimental it can be to certain people to quit their 9-to-5. I do, and I'm very grateful for all of the clients that I have, but I have quite a good number of clients that have came to me after they have worked with another coach, and they're like, first off, I didn't have that money. Second off, it was nowhere near what was promised to me. I had a client tell me that they did some type of business coaching container, and they were like, it was really expensive, and basically all we did was energy healing every time we met because that was what the business coach deemed what they needed. So in the end, she really didn't get that much business advice, and she was like, I could have just continued working with you the whole time and actually been working on energy healing. That's really sad. And also telling people that like you should quit your 9-to-5 because it is energetically blocking you. This is a difficult conversation because in some way, shapes, or form, there was a point in time where like, yeah, when I stood with my old job, when I was working in a school, it was a beautiful job and I love it. I loved it. And sometimes I do miss it, but not fully. I did need to leave that so that I could pursue what I needed to pursue in my everyday life. However, I wish more business coaches would talk about the fact that people that own their own businesses, most of them that I've spoken to that don't, are not in this field, they're like, yeah, I have my business, but I also do this, and this. They have actual multiple streams of income and not like, oh, you have, 5, 6, 7, 8 different types of offerings. That's not multiple streams of income. Because if tomorrow the coaching industry and the self-help industry and the spirituality industry fucking plummeted and tanked, you'd be shit out of fucking luck. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter that you had 8 offerings. They're all gone. So talking to other business owners, that they were like, yeah, of course I have another job alongside my business. Of course I do these extra things for extra income. Really, really wish that the spiritual business community would have spoken about that because I don't really think that's fair. And also we have to recognize privilege, that I'm in a really great situation in my own personal life because twice now I've left and been exploring and been doing my own thing, and then like full disclosure, gotten to call my mom and be like, hey, I have this, and this going on. Can I come back home? And my mom being kind enough to let me back in. I have that opportunity, and that obviously makes it easier as you're having your own business to have the cushion of somebody else providing a roof over your head, maybe not paying the bills for you, but in some way, shape, or form, having a place to provide me off the fucking fly is goddamn amazing. And that's a privilege. Not every person can quit their 9-to-5 to pursue their dreams alone. Pursuing their dreams on the side, maybe yes, for a bit until they can really recognize what it means to have it be their own business. I think it's amazing that we can charge for what we're worth. And that's where I kind of want to head with this segue. I do think you should charge what you're worth. When I was starting out as a yoga teacher, I think about that all the time. There were things that were Like, I was just so overworked, and I completely and utterly understand why I was burnt out. And I do think it's important to remind people to charge for their time and their energy and all the years of work and all the teacher trainings that they've done and the mentorships that they have invested in. I think that's extremely important. However, I think it's important to recognize that not everybody wants to not everybody wants high ticket items, I should say. Not everybody wants it to be like, I'm going to make 6,000 off this one person. That's not what everyone chooses. And it's not, what is the word I want to use? I don't think it's ethical to coerce people or try to make it seem like you're teaching them to do that just because realistically they pay you, right? If they're paying you and they're paying you a high ticket item, you're going to encourage them to do a high ticket item. In one, when I worked with that one business coach that things were just terrible with, there was a group program that we were all in, and I will never forget it. It was really fun. This person asked us to go around and talk about what our group program was finally going to be. That was what we were supposed to work on. And it came my time to speak, and I was unmuted on Zoom. And they were like, Dan, what would you like to say? And I said, what I learned this week is that I'm not doing it. And I will never forget, because I did have friends on that screen that I still talk to today. They were like, oh my God, what the fuck? Because I said it in front of everyone because I was pissed off because I realized like I was wasting my money with somebody who really didn't care about me. They just wanted me. Here's where the MLM is. They wanted me to charge somebody else a bunch of money so I could continue paying them a bunch of money. And I was like, I don't want to do a fucking course. I've never wanted to do a fucking course. I host retreats. I love my retreats. I work with my clients one-to-one. I do events and workshops, and that is what I like to do. I'm not creating a course. There is nothing that I want to fucking create a course about. If I ever do, I will do that on my own time when the inspiration comes to me. But coercing me into doing it because, but you could continue to revamp it throughout your whole life and stick another number on it. You know, every time you revamp it, you can make the price higher and higher and higher. I didn't want to fucking do that. And it took me months of working with this person to realize that. And then it took me months of working with this person to muster up the courage to say that on the fucking screen. So, there's a lot of lack of integration in this area. Now, if you know me or you follow me, I think there's a lack of integration in fucking everywhere. But especially with these coaches and mentors and yada yads bringing things into people's lives, I think it's really fucked that you can call yourself a business coach. And I stand by what I'm saying. I think it's really fucked that you can call yourself a business coach without having to prove a portfolio. And it was when one of my, I like to think of him as a teacher of mine, but he's like a peer. We've had the same teachers before. He brought up to me, like, why would you work with a business coach if they cannot provide to you how much money they make alongside all of the businesses that they have worked on? And not just like, oh, look at this person's Instagram. Like, no, like, where are the numbers? If you're teaching me how to live in this life of abundance, where are the numbers of those people living in abundance? Not just like, listen, anybody could do what I do. Realistically, if you're cool with living with a minimal amount of money and you want to go travel the world, it's not hard. You can go on TikTok and YouTube and learn how to do it. There's a ton of people that make fucking vlogs about it. However, when people are like, oh my God, I live in this like luxury, and you're showcasing people this, you got to be able to back it up with numbers. And when he said that to me, like, but where's their portfolio? It never dawned upon me to think to ask these people that. And I was having a conversation with someone recently who was like, it's just interesting that some people will also promote themselves as business coaches, but have a main job. And they don't tell you that. They don't tell you that they have other streams of income. They just make it seem like their one business that you see on social media is how they make their money. Again, I personally, this is my opinion, I don't think that that's ethical. I don't think it's ethical in any way, fucking shape, or form to be like, yeah, look at me doing all these things. And it's like, bro, you had a 9 to 5 that was online this whole time. Like, say that and then be like, yeah, well, I also do this alongside my 9 to 5. That's just like human decency and honesty. And like, if I'm learning from you, I want the most authentic, real, honest version of you, not the Instagram authentic, fucking honest version of you. I don't need that. So I think that's interesting. And I think that's where I kind of want to leave this off at this point. I know we're about 26 minutes in and I've said a lot of things and I'm sure that there's more that I really want to speak on. But to kind of close this up, I know of people and have had many conversations with people where just because it looks really pretty or seems really shiny or the right words are being used does not mean that it is going to benefit you financially or spiritually to work with a coach. It may not even be the right thing for you to work with me. You know, like I feel like that's important for me to say as well. Maybe you don't need somebody to guide you on your healing path because that's not where you need to be investing your money right now. And so there's no anger in this conversation, and I hope it doesn't come across that way. But it's a conversation that I've had with many. And it's a conversation I guarantee you I'm going to continue to have because I cannot understand the idea of not getting to have that integration period so that you can actually learn what it means to hold space for people, what it actually means to have ethics in your business. But then we can get into the conversation that ethics is also a perspective and a point of view. So will coaches continue to just keep getting the vulnerable people who want to be other coaches so that they can charge these higher ticket prices so that they can be making their money that way? I don't know. I guess we'll see. I hope this got all of my thoughts out. And I really want to know what you think. This is no like shade or anger at any specific one. This is just a culmination of the conversations that I've had with my friends and who I consider to be my colleagues in this field. And I think that a lot more people have similar views to me. And I know a lot of people also don't have similar views to me. And that's totally okay. And I'd still love to hear your perspective on the matter. So I want to thank you so much for listening thus far. I hope I kept it concise. Please give me constructive criticism as to this. I never, ever take notes. If you know me, I never, ever take notes. And so this was a first for me. If it didn't sound organic, just let me know and be like, Dan, we'd rather listen to you rant than you have things written out concisely. I love you. I appreciate you for taking the time out of your beautiful, busy life to listen to this conversation. And I hope that you join us for the next conversation. Many blessings to you and to yours.